I met Daniel when I was 24. He wasn't just the kind of man you date. He was the kind of man you marry. We had that instant connection, the sort you think only happens in movies. Within 2 years, we were exchanging vows under a wide summer sky, surrounded by the people we loved. I thought I had won the relationship lottery. He was supportive, attentive, and funny in the most unexpected ways. My friends envied how he'd send flowers just because, or cook dinner after my long shifts. There were late-night drives, surprise weekend trips, shared dreams about kids and a house by the lake. I trusted him blindly. 7 years in, our routines had grown familiar but still warm. We had little rituals. Saturday morning coffee runs, movie nights every Friday. I noticed, occasionally, a certain flatness in his responses. When I told him something exciting from work, he smiled but didn't ask follow-ups. He laughed less. He started spending more time on his phone, typing fast and flipping its screen down when I entered the room. I chalked it up to stress. His firm had taken on a massive new client, and late nights were normal. I didn't want to be the paranoid wife. There was one night I'll never forget. I was curled up in bed reading, half asleep, and he came into the room after midnight. He thought I was out cold. I heard him on the phone, whispering. His voice was low, gentle, but the tone didn't belong to the Daniel I knew. He said, "I wish I was with you right now." Just 7 words, almost thrown away into the dark. But something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. I stayed quiet, eyes closed, pretending to breathe slowly. I wanted to believe I misunderstood. Maybe he was talking to his sister or joking with a friend. The next morning I asked how work had gone. He barely looked up from his coffee. Busy. Exhausting. No kiss. No warmth. The whisper echoed in my mind, refusing to fade. For a few days I forced myself to forget it. I buried myself in errands, work, anything to dull the gnawing doubt. But I caught myself watching him more closely. How he'd step outside to take calls, how his smile seemed forced when we were with friends, how he suddenly cared about grooming in a way he never had before. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Everyone hits a rut. Every marriage has quiet phases. But it wasn't just the silence between us. It was the emptiness behind his eyes, the absence of something that used to be there. Love doesn't vanish overnight, does it? Maybe I was imagining things. Or maybe that whisper was a fracture I couldn't unhear. Whatever it was, something shifted that night. And though I couldn't name it yet, I felt it in my bones. Our marriage wasn't the same anymore. I tried to push the feeling down, but it kept clawing its way back up. That whisper played on loop in my head. I started noticing things I had ignored before. His phone never left his hand. Even when he went to the bathroom, he took it with him. If it buzzed, he flipped it over without reading the screen. Once, I asked to use it to check the weather. He hesitated, just for a second, but long enough to confirm what I already feared. He handed it to me reluctantly, then hovered like I might discover something he hadn't planned for. The late nights increased. Client dinners, he said. Team meetings, he added. I stopped asking questions because I already knew the answers weren't real. The perfume on his shirt one evening wasn't mine. He claimed someone bumped into him at the restaurant. There was a receipt in his jacket pocket from a boutique hotel, one we'd never been to together. It was for a single night, 2 glasses of wine, and a breakfast for 2. He told me it was a team-building event. I didn't believe him, but I didn't press. I wasn't ready for the truth yet. I confided in my sister. I didn't expect validation. I just needed to say the words out loud. She listened carefully, then asked, "If it's not what you think it is, why does it feel like this?" I didn't have an answer. I wasn't acting like someone who trusted her husband. I was acting like someone already mourning something that hadn't even ended, at least not officially. I began to test him. I asked small questions I already knew the answers to. His stories didn't match. He'd say he went to one place, but I'd find a tag on his social media showing him somewhere else entirely. Once, I followed him after he said he was headed to a team dinner. I felt disgusting doing it, like I was the one betraying him. But when I saw him sitting across from a woman at a dimly lit restaurant, no group, no colleagues, I stood frozen outside for what felt like an hour. They were laughing. His smile wasn't tired or forced. It was the kind of smile I hadn't seen in months. I left without confronting him. I needed time to decide what to do. That night I lay awake listening again. At 2:14 a.m. he whispered into the phone. I couldn't hear everything, but the end of the call was unmistakable. "I love you too." It felt surgical, like a clean incision slicing through the last thread of denial I was holding onto. My stomach turned. There it was, the confirmation I never asked for, spoken in the same low whisper that first broke the illusion. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stared at the ceiling, letting the silence fill the space between us. Every second stretched long and heavy. The truth was no longer hiding. It had moved into our home, unpacked its bags, and settled between us like it had always belonged. I didn't wait long after that night. I had to know the full truth, not just the pieces I'd pieced together. The next evening I asked him directly, "Are you seeing someone else?" He froze, fork midair, eyes blinking too slowly. For a moment, he looked like he might lie again. But then something in him gave up. He sighed, put his fork down and said, "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to. I didn't ask for the details, but he gave them anyway. A woman from work." It started as conversation, turned into coffee, then nights spent together in hotel rooms that I paid for indirectly with my loyalty. He said it wasn't love, that it was confusion, that he was feeling disconnected from me and didn't know how to talk about it. He said he didn't want to hurt me, but he did. Every choice he made behind my back said otherwise. He tried to soften the blow with justifications. How we'd grown apart, how he felt invisible, how the affair made him feel alive. I listened, but every word sounded like noise. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I felt hollow, like everything inside me had fallen out all at once. Years of trust unraveled in minutes. The man I thought I knew was gone. In his place sat a stranger who had slept next to me while loving someone else. I remembered anniversaries he forgot, moments we shared that now felt borrowed. The time he said he was working late but came home with flowers. The nights he turned away from me in bed. I thought he was tired. Now I knew he was full of someone else. Every memory had a new layer of bitterness. I kept replaying moments with new context, realizing how blind I had been. He asked if I wanted to talk about how to fix it. I couldn't even respond. Fix what? Trust. Intimacy. The foundation he cracked without a second thought. I didn't know what I wanted yet. I only knew I didn't want to look at him. I walked out that night, didn't pack a bag, didn't tell anyone. I just needed to breathe air he hadn't touched. Alone in my car, I felt the weight of everything hit at once. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional, mental, a violation of every word we promised each other. I thought I would fall apart, but instead I felt numb. Pain would come later, but in that moment, all I could feel was clarity. This was real. Happened. There was no going back. When I finally returned the next day, I didn't say much. Neither did he. The silence between us was different now. Not tense, not cautious, just empty. Whatever we were, whatever we had built, had been leveled by one choice. A whisper had started it. But this confession, it ended everything. The days after the confession were quiet. Not peaceful, just silent. We moved around each other like strangers in the same house, exchanging brief words about groceries or bills, never touching the real subject. He tried to act normal, like routines could undo damage. But I wasn't pretending. I was watching him with new eyes, seeing a man I didn't recognize, one who had broken something I couldn't rebuild. He apologized often, always in passing, like repetition might make it easier to swallow. Didn't. He offered therapy. He suggested a trip, a reset, said he was willing to do whatever it took. But the problem wasn't effort. It was absence. What I needed from him no longer existed. The person who used to make me feel safe had been replaced by someone who made me question my own worth. I couldn't fake forgiveness. I wasn't angry in the loud, dramatic way people expect. I was tired, drained from carrying something that had already collapsed. I started making plans without him. Quiet steps. Opening my own bank account, finding an apartment, calling a therapist. I didn't announce it. I didn't want a dramatic exit. I just wanted space. Not to punish him, but to protect myself. The day I left, I packed with steady hands. He cried, asked if this was really what I wanted. I didn't answer. It wasn't about what I wanted. It was about what I couldn't accept. In the weeks that followed, people asked questions. Some were shocked. Others admitted they'd noticed changes but didn't want to interfere. I didn't give many details. I didn't need to. The truth lived in my posture, my voice, the way I no longer rushed to explain myself. I wasn't looking for sympathy. I was looking for peace. Healing wasn't fast. There were days I missed him. Not him now, but the version of him I believed in. There were nights I questioned everything. Was I enough? Did I miss a chance to fix things? But every time doubt crept in, I reminded myself. He made a choice. A long, consistent, deliberate choice to lie and hide and betray. Love doesn't excuse that. Eventually, I stopped checking my phone for his messages. I stopped replaying that whisper in my mind. It had haunted me for so long, but now it felt like a closed door. Not something I needed to open again. I found comfort in solitude. In learning who I was without him. I started doing things for me. Small, ordinary things that brought quiet joy. For the first time in years, I wasn't performing a role. I was just being. He still reaches out sometimes. Apologies, updates, memories. I read them, then delete them. There's nothing left to say. I don't hate him. I just don't belong in the same story anymore. His whisper changed everything. But it also revealed what I hadn't wanted to see. Now I live in truth even if it came at a cost. I didn't get the ending I imagined, but I found something else. Myself. And that finally is enough.